Empires, inventions, corporations, all fell the same way. Not by accident, by design. The transaction is called Repo 105. It required collateral valued at exactly 105% of the cash received, and that single number, 5% above the loan, was the legal hinge that let Lehman Brothers erase up to $50 billion in liabilities from its balance sheet on command. Lehman's own accounting counsel in the United States refused to certify this treatment as a legitimate sale. So Lehman went to London. This is not a story about a firm that panicked in 2008 and reached for a desperate trick. This is a case file about a rule written into Lehman's reporting architecture years before anyone outside the firm knew it existed. Before we get to the collapse, we need to understand the tool it was built from, because the tool itself was ordinary. That's what made it work. A repurchase agreement, a repo, is one of the most common instruments in institutional finance. A firm holding bonds or securities needs short-term cash. It sells those securities to another party with a signed agreement to buy them back, usually within days, at a slightly higher price. The difference in price is effectively interest. The securities function as collateral. The seller keeps the securities on its own balance sheet the entire time because economically nothing has changed. It's a loan, dressed as a sale, and everyone in the room understands it that way. Under standard accounting practice, that's exactly how it's recorded. As a financing transaction, a liability, debt that stays visible. Every major bank on Wall Street used repos this way. Regulators expected it. Auditors expected it. It was the plumbing of daily liquidity management, invisible in the sense that a working pipe is invisible, not because it's hidden, but because it's unremarkable. This is precisely why Lehman's version of the transaction required no innovation in disguise. It didn't need a hidden room. It needed a technical reclassification sitting inside a mechanism regulators already considered routine. Nobody audits the pipe. They audit the water pressure. Now isolate the design decision, because this is the center of the case. Under the accounting standard in place at the time, SFAS 140, a repo transaction could be classified not as a financing arrangement, but as an outright sale of assets. If, and only if, the collateral posted exceeded the cash received by a sufficient margin, transferring effective control of the asset to the counterparty. Lehman set that threshold internally at 105% over-collateralization. Above that number, the transaction wasn't recorded as "we borrowed money." It was recorded as "we sold this asset." The asset came off the balance sheet. The cash came on. The corresponding liability never appeared. Total assets shrank. Leverage ratios improved. On paper, Lehman looked less indebted, exactly when investors and rating agencies were looking hardest, at the end of each reporting quarter. Here is the detail that turns this from aggressive accounting into a documented structural choice. Lehman's own U.S. legal counsel would not issue an opinion letter blessing this treatment as a genuine sale under American law. Without that opinion, the firm's auditors, Ernst & Young, could not sign off on classifying it that way inside the United States. So Lehman restructured the transaction to route through Lehman Brothers International in London and secured a true sale opinion under English law from the firm Linklaters, a jurisdiction where counsel was willing to certify what American counsel would not. This wasn't a workaround discovered under pressure in 2008. It was a jurisdictional routing built specifically to obtain a legal signature that domestic counsel had declined to give. That refusal, on record, is the evidence that this was never a gray area. A gray area doesn't require you to leave the country for a signature. The internal use of this mechanism dates back to at least 2001. For years, it functioned at modest volume, a quiet lever pulled occasionally at reporting dates. Then, starting in 2007 and accelerating into 2008, as Lehman's mortgage-backed holdings deteriorated and market confidence began to erode, the volume escalated sharply. At peak quarter-end reporting periods, Lehman was temporarily moving close to $50 billion off its balance sheet through Repo 105 transactions, then reversing those trades within days after the quarter closed, once the reporting snapshot had already been taken and published. Subscribe now, because the next file in this archive was also engineered before anyone thought to look for it. What masked this for years wasn't complexity. It was timing precision combined with an absence of disclosure. There was no footnote in Lehman's quarterly filings explaining that tens of billions in assets had been temporarily reclassified as sales and would return to the balance sheet within the week. Anyone reading only the published quarterly numbers saw a firm that appeared less leveraged than it actually was, at precisely the moments investors, analysts, and credit rating agencies were forming their judgments. The mechanism didn't need to deceive forensic scrutiny. It only needed to outlast the reporting calendar. And for years, it did, until the calendar stopped being enough. The event that exposed this wasn't the bankruptcy filing itself in September of 2008. Lehman's collapse was the visible endpoint, not the discovery. The actual exposure came 18 months later, on March 11, 2010, when court-appointed bankruptcy examiner Anton Valukas released his report. Valukas and his team reconstructed the mechanism using internal emails, accounting memos, and communications between Lehman executives and their counsel. Documents that showed the firm's own senior officers referred to Repo 105 by name internally, understood precisely what it did to reported leverage, and used it deliberately at reporting dates. The report didn't uncover a hidden invention. It photographed a machine that had been running, understood, and maintained inside the firm for the better part of a decade. The people who built and operated it knew exactly what it did. That distinction matters more than the dollar figures. This pattern is not unique to Lehman, and it did not end with Lehman. Temporary balance sheet reduction timed precisely to reporting dates, sometimes called window dressing, is a recurring structural behavior across financial institutions, documented in later research into short-term repo markets and quarter-end reporting cycles industry-wide. Firms borrow less, hold less risk, or shed assets right before the snapshot is taken, then resume normal activity once the snapshot is filed. Repo 105 wasn't an isolated invention unique to one firm's culture. It was one specific, aggressively engineered instance of a reusable architecture, a category of behavior the financial system's reporting calendar makes structurally possible whenever a firm controls both the timing of a transaction and the timing of a disclosure. The mechanism required no law to be broken. Lehman didn't forge documents or falsify trades. It selected a legal classification, secured a compliant legal opinion in a jurisdiction that would provide one, and executed the reversal before the next filing came due. Every step was documented. Every step had a signature. The only thing engineered with precision was time, when the transaction happened and when the world was allowed to look. The same category of instrument, over-collateralized repo agreements capable of true sale treatment under existing accounting standards, remains legally available inside financial institutions today.